Thank you, Daniel. The next session is we're going to focus on what the latest political developments in Europe, the European elections, signify for the EU's eastwards enlargement. And to address that question, I'm delighted to welcome Dorin Recean, Prime Minister of Moldova. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Dear Nectaria, President Radev, President Gül, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, it's a great honor for me to address today's annual Economist Government Roundtable. And this question, what do the European elections signify for Western Balkans and Eastern Europe, is as important as ever. We have to look at these results in the context, and obviously from the Moldovan perspective, this is from one side a cautious optimism that we are seeing, and from the other side is a kind of a rehearsal. I will explain a little bit later why. We see that the parliament moved to the right. We have to see to what extent the policies and where shall they move if. And I will not comment on the election results themselves, as I do believe that this is the expression of the will of the people, and obviously results change inevitably every few years, as just they are meant to reflect the changes in the concerns and expectations of our people. Though I think that a thorough analysis of the malign influence and election interference should be done in order to assess to what extent people's sentiment is a reflection of reality or is influenced by propaganda, disinformation, and false promises, and altogether. Moldova's path to independence was paved in the early 90s in the streets, with thousands and thousands of people rally demanding under Soviet occupation for freedom and sovereignty. Some might even say democracy itself arrived rather unexpectedly with the fall of the Soviet Union. But as a young democracy, we have come to value our freedoms and celebrate our elections. And in these European elections, nearly 50,000 of our nationals within Moldova that hold EU citizenship actively participated in the elections at the polling stations opened in Moldova, and voted overwhelmingly the pro-European parties. And we call pro-European parties those that understand that a larger Europe is a more peaceful, secure, and prosperous Europe. I was mentioning that these were also rehearsal, a preparation for the day when all Moldovans will have a say in the future of the European Union, a shared future for our continent and unity in Europe. When our country holds national elections, hundreds of thousands of Moldovans worldwide travels hours and hundreds of kilometers to polling stations to exercise their freedom of choice. Few events unite our diaspora like the election day, a day when they get to decide the future of our country. And that is a reason for celebration as well. Yet, too many still take democracy for granted, and in today's world, it's important not to forget that having a voice and a vote is especially valuable. New technologies are being used to divide us, and while Ukrainians cannot afford to hold elections, for the Kremlin, they simply just don't seem to matter anymore. Moldova has been the country most affected by the war after Ukraine, and we still receive a lot of unsolicited attention from Kremlin. Moldova is safe and peaceful thanks to the bravery and sacrifices of Ukraine, and I would like to extend our Moldovans' gratitude to Ukraine and to Ukrainian people for keeping peace, security, not only in Moldova, but on the continent, including in the Baltic countries. And however, the broader conflict impacts all of Europe. Cyber attacks, informational warfare, and other attacks on democracies are felt everywhere, with the intention of undermining the democracies and interfering with our sovereign choices. Every day, Moldova's institutions are becoming stronger and more resilient towards new types of threats. But I believe that even in these terrible times, we must still seek ways to end the cycle of hatred and destruction, striving tirelessly for peace and unity. This war has no justification. No shift in borders can justify the hundreds of thousands of deaths. And while we cannot change the past, we can still shape a future where we live in peace. There is no alternative but to learn to coexist, and it is probably the greatest responsibility of politicians to pursue peace and prosperity with decency, never abandoning diplomacy, dialogue, and convergence. All wars share one common outcome. They eventually end with peace. But European wars have an immensely more valuable commonality. They end for good with the European Union. This war should be no different. Peace in Europe must prevail. We must learn from our mistakes and ensure this is the last war in Europe, maintaining unity around the values that matter most: freedom, prosperity, rule of law, and respect for human life. No other continent has endured as much war as Europe, only to emerge free, open, prosperous, and without borders. These values attract countries to the Union, and these values will outlive any dictator. Moldova already embraces these values. We're fighting corruption and reforming our justice, building a country that can maintain its own peace and security while contributing to those of the region, and at the same time, building the most digital and business-friendly country in Europe. The competition is tough, but we are determined to excel. I invite you all to come and see our progress, but also come visit us as a family. Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you not just as a Prime Minister of Moldova, but as a representative of a nation that is deeply committed to the European project. Moldova, Ukraine, and countries from the Western Balkans are part of the European family. It is not a question of if, but when we will join the Union. Our journey towards EU membership is not without its challenges, but great things don't come easy. Yet we remain determined to succeed. We believe that EU enlargement in Eastern Europe and Western Balkans is an investment in peace, ensuring freedom and safety for generations to come. We're ready and willing to contribute. Thank you.